Here's Ryan. So on the night that Jesus was betrayed, how many times have we heard that verse from 1 Corinthians 11:23? I know I hear it every time that I go to church before communion. And I never really think much of it. I never did think much of it. On the night he was betrayed, and then I moved on, Jesus took the bread and he broke it. But as we are in this Lenten season, as we're leading up to the death and resurrection of Christ, I started thinking about that phrase just a little bit more. On the night that he was betrayed. Now let me set the stage for you. That night, Jesus was in a room with his closest friends, his disciples. He was going to celebrate with them this feast of Passover, this last meal. He knew it was his last meal. Why did he know that? He knew that because he's God, right? He knew that night he would be taken, beaten, condemned, and put to death. He knew it. He also knew who started it. Judas. And Judas was right there in that room celebrating that last meal with Christ. Now, there's a custom back then, and it had a lot to do with just the reality of the situation. We talked about open shoes and everything. When you would go into somebody's house as a guest, the servant would wash your feet. That night, there was no servant, so no feet were washed. And so what happens? Christ washes our feet. And there's a lot of meaning in that. But what I want to focus on is that act. That he washed their feet. He went to Peter, and he washed his feet. And he went to Matthew, and he washed his feet. And he went to Judas. Yes, Judas. And he washed his feet. Just picture that. He was kneeling in front of Judas. He was available to Judas, the one guy who had sold him to be put to death. And there he is, at his feet. Now, what does that tell us? This is the message of the gospel. Right there in that room, at that time, at those feet. We have a God that is loving, that knows everything, and is available. And I don't want you to miss this. Judas was sitting, and Jesus comes to him. Jesus didn't sit and wait for his disciples to come to him to have their feet washed. No. Jesus came down to them. He came down to you, and he comes down to me to wash our feet, to forgive us of our sins. That is the message of the gospel. He is available to each and every one of us. All we have to do is let him. All we have to do is let him wash our feet.